Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. A few days into a brand new year. Many of us have New Year's resolutions, goals that we want to attain. How's that working for you? Have you actually started on that? And have you started and have you given up already? Many do. If not this soon, a few weeks from now, kind of all falls apart. Why is that? Why can't we keep our commitments to ourselves? We're going to talk about that today and keep those commitments, especially when it comes to our businesses. She is an amazing business coach, helps people wrestle with this and more all the time, and even embraces AI. We've talked about a lot of things so far. We're going to boil it down to the basics today with Angela Doyle, live and direct from Florida. How you doing today?
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me back, Steve. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So I hear that usually by the time the first week of February comes around, we don't keep our goals, our call them resolutions, call them goals, whatever the commitments, whatever they are, it kind of falls apart. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I think there's a statistic out there that says about 43% abandon their goals by the end of January. So I think that, as we write these goals, well, sometimes we don't even write the goals. Majority of the people, we have them in our head, but we don't write the goals down. And that's really critical for organizations to be able to write the goals down in a very clear, concise way. And a lot of businesses, we use what's called SMART goals. SMART is an acronym and it means, specific, measurable. Are we measurable? Achievable. Can we really achieve this? That it's within our reach. And, realistic. Is this realistic for our company? I mean, does this align with our company's culture and our company's enterprise strategy? And then is it testable? Is it, can we test this idea at the end? Can we identify whether we've created this goal or we've met the goal, we haven't? And that's pretty specific of an acronym for business goals, but I also think it's because we don't write them down and we don't share them. They're not visible. So you're right. We're all pumped up in the beginning. There's a lot of people that are in the gym, January. Gyms are really, they have a lot of growth in January. But we forget by the end of January, in the beginning of February, that commitment kind of dwindles down. And that goes with business too. So how do we stay committed? That's the key, right?
You bring up a great point. Even writing it down. When is the last time somebody actually wrote down their resolution, whether it's personal, professional, wanting to get back to the gym, lose 10 pounds? That makes such a difference. You see it before you. And then, of course, the accountability. Who's going to hold you accountable to that? Yourself? Probably not. Need a coach, need a friend, need somebody.
Yeah, that's true. And, that's the thing. That's keeping it in sight. A lot of times without accountability, and the reason we lose sight of our goals is because we don't keep them in sight. We write them down. And for those that do write them down, for those that do write the goals down, one, we write it and they're too vague. They're not really specific. They're not in small, different increments so that we can achieve them, so that we can check on them every month. But we don't look at them until the end of that month. And we should be seeing them very visually every single day. They should be at a place, and whether it's a room, a conference center. What are your next year goals? And sharing that throughout the whole company. So everyone knows that here are our goals for this year. This is how we are going to be a team this year. We're going to focus on these particular goals or these themes and how this aligns to our enterprise strategy.
How detailed should you get? I'm going basic here. I want to lose 10 pounds. So I'm going to write it down. Okay, step one. Did something good. I wrote it down. Should there be, and I'm using that as just a basic example. If it's a business goal, that could be we're increasing revenue by 25%. That's our goal. Should we
Mhm.
get specific in the steps that would be needed? Even losing 10 pounds, going to go to the gym at least 4 times a week for at least 1 hour. And half of that will be cardio. Again, hypothetical. I'm going to
Mhm.
start eating better. What does that mean? Do we need to get into those details?
I think it's important. I think that if you break it down, you're thinking about the goal. You're thinking of how you're going to achieve it. And it helps you stay committed. So when you achieve every small little increment of that goal and you're chipping away at the overall arching outcome that you want to achieve, whether that's increasing your business growth this year, you're measuring what we call outcomes versus outputs. Okay, yes, I've obtained and I went to um, uh, I've launched so many features within an application this year. Well, is that really going to achieve your goal of growth, or is it going to achieve your goal of automation? We're not sure. So you want to measure the right things too. So I think that as we break this down and we have, we hear a lot about 30-day challenges now,
Mm.
90-day challenges. Well, at the end of this call, I like to, give the listeners, a little bit of a challenge. What's your 30-day challenge? At the end of this month in January, what would you like to obtain that you feel like you can obtain, given the, capacity and given the demands that you have right now? So looking at the goals from an annual level, the fiscal year, what is the outcome you want to achieve? Writing that down in specific steps, and then start with the end in mind. Sometimes we want to boil the ocean. Only just take the top three, top four, or maybe even five goals of the year. Now, you can have 10, depending on how big they are. But what are those overarching goals that are going to really move the needle, increase the growth of the company, you know, um, grow the business, automate the business, work smarter instead of harder? What are those particular goals for your particular company and or corporation or department? And how do you want to achieve them? Start with the end in mind.
Reverse engineer it.
Right, right.
Hmm. Is there a formula? Did I ever mention CPR to you?
No, no.
Okay, not cardiopulmonary resuscitation, but I've learned this even in the last year. This is just one example, but I'm wondering if there's a formula. So CPR stands for context, purpose, results. And it might look like, let's say I want to go to the gym and, that's my goal. The context is something that resonates with you. So I'm going to write beast mode 2.0 Steve, just something short and memorable. That's my context. My purpose is I want to lose 15 pounds so I'll feel better about myself and I'll be able to better support others and on and on and on. And then the results are going to be what's that going to look like? I lose weight, have more energy. So there's a formula, sort of like a blueprint. Are there other things out there that I don't know about? Yeah, it's the only one I know that could
Yeah,
support that.
yeah. There's an awesome, a lot of organizations. This was started by in Google back in the day, and there's a great book out there that I would highly recommend. It's called Measuring What Matters by John Doyle, and it's about measuring with OKRs. OKRs is an acronym for Objectives and Key Results. And a lot of
Hmm.
organizations, regardless of the sector of that organization or the industry, they take their key results, their objectives, their key results at the top, and it creates alignment because that allows the teams, the programs, the portfolios to create maybe their overarching objectives that align with the overall enterprise strategy and enterprise goals. So I think that as we look on the new year, this formula OKRs in the framework, and there's a lot about OKRs on the internet, but I think John Dewar's Measuring What Matters book is fantastic. He breaks it down and such easy to understand results. So objectives are your overall arching outcome, measuring an outcome versus an output, right? Not the vague metrics, not the vague goals. That's not going to get you to the end, but starting with the end in mind. And then the key results are how you're going to measure those. So how are you going to track and measure your outcomes bi-monthly, bi-quarterly? How are we going to measure them so that we can pivot when we need to if we're measuring the wrong thing? So some of those key results are leading. They're called leading indicators. That's good because we can pivot if we're not seeing the results and maybe we're measuring the wrong thing, right? And then lagging is at the end. Usually that's at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year. Have we met our goal? We haven't. It's really too late to change if it's at the end of the year. And the other thing I would suggest for the key results or the measuring part of it is setting a deadline. Yeah, we get a little scared when it says setting a deadline. Well, what if we have to move the deadline? Well, if you have to move the deadline, you have to move the deadline. But at least it gives us this sense of urgency. It gives us this sense of we have to, it keeps us motivated, right? That's why we want to keep our goals visible and we want to check on them. And I would say weekly that we keep them visible, or we keep them visible in a conference room where everyone can see them, so that we can, when we walk by, we see that every single day, and that keeps us more committed. Yeah, this is where I want to go. It's like a picture of yourself when you're working out, and you keep that picture up every single day. Before you go to the gym, you're looking at that picture of that new person and that new weight that you want to have. Same thing with organizations.
Do you feel, now you've done international speaking, you're an author, you know, enterprise coach working with executives. Do you feel that some executives, business owners aren't really sure what their goals are? It's easy to say, I want to increase revenue. Okay, great. Who doesn't? But below that, do you find that maybe there's some uncertainty as to what some people have goals for? They're not even sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I did one of the first OKR workshops with a particular client that was a Fortune 20, they never really heard of OKRs. And when we started talking about them, they did have their goals, but the goals were very vague. There was like 100 and some goals.
Wow.
And I'm like, how are we going to do this? This is something that these are more outputs, not outcomes. And so that's the other thing that we tend to boil the ocean around is outputs. And we think outputs are going to give us the overall goal that we want at the end of the year. And although they may help, they may not give us the right outcome we want to achieve.
For total clarity, can you give an example, again, completely hypothetical, of what a output might be and what an outcome might be?
Okay. So an outcome is you want to increase your growth. You want to hire 50,000 more people, and you want to attract the right talent for your company this year. Okay. You want to grow by 50,000 more. Okay. And the output might be, oh, well, we're going to do that. So we're going to launch this new AI HR system that's going to allow us to help it decrease our onboarding time by, I don't know, 30 days to 2 weeks. Okay. That system might work, and you have increased it. You have, you've achieved your goal within the first 30 days or 60 days of working, but that doesn't mean your outcome of increasing your growth for 50,000 a year might not happen. That's the outcome. Measuring the right outcome that might actually, help in the onboarding process. They may not necessarily attract more of the right talent that you need. Another one would be, I've launched 50 I've done 50 features this month. We've implemented these features and this new system, and it's going to help us achieve a certain amount of outcome. That system and what the outcome is what we're trying to achieve. What is the overarching objective you're trying to achieve that's going to move the needle for your company versus these inputs? And a lot of times we're focused on inputs, we're focused on solutions. That's what happened with this organization that I helped, instead of the outcomes. And when we're so used to in IT, when we're so used to focusing on the outputs, it's so hard to actually change our mindset to focus on the outcome. What is the overall arching? What's going to happen this year? What needs to happen at the end of this year, December 31st, 2025, that's going to let you say, this was the best year our company ever had.
Do you feel that every business owner, every executive should have goals? It's a new year. There should be some goals instead of just, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I do. I think that if you're going to grow, you have to have goals, and they have to be visible. They have to be transparent, and they have to create alignment. And that alignment helps us be able to focus the whole company to focus on the right things at the right time.
It must be exciting if you're in a company and you have a meeting the first week of January and, all right, everybody, just want to let you know, this is what we're looking at. These are our goals, to outline some, assuming that it's not, all right, everybody, you're doing more work and we're not paying you extra. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the company direction. It's like a boost of energy at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when people share that, that allows the people, it's just like even when you're going to the gym, you want to lose weight or you want to learn a new skill set. At the beginning of the year, that's everybody is rallying around this particular objectives, the enterprise strategy. But the key is we got to stay focused and committed. So that is the key, because a lot of organizations and a lot of individuals, for that matter, they lose sight of the goals and they're not committed. So yes, the commitment is what drives the actions that bring about the end result at the end of the year.
So we'll go a little bit deep here. Let's say you've done the right thing. For your company, you've established what the goals are, maybe some of the action steps. It's all there. You're positive. It's all great. How do you keep people motivated? How do you keep them, your team, committed?
So I think a lot of times we lose sight of our goals. You know, we have it, we're very motivated in the beginning because we have the goals and it's set and the outcomes are set. We're very motivated. But by the end of that quarter, we've lost sight of them. We stop talking about them. We don't see them. We don't visualize them. And I really think keeping the goals in front of you, in sight, so that you can, and your company and the teams, the organization, the product lines, the portfolios, can make sure that they are keeping that on the front part of their mind and they're staying focused and staying the course.
Are incentives important?
Oh, absolutely. I think incentives are important, but I think when you look at it, it depends on what type of incentives, right? So, you know, some organizations may have incentives to keep the goals from, you know, getting, you know, maybe it's stock options, okay? Others might be, you know, let's keep our goals by, you know, we're going to have a big party and celebrate. I think it's important to celebrate wins every quarter, to celebrate wins, okay? And by making sure that those short-term wins, meaning like when you have something that you've achieved, you may not achieve the overall arching goal at the end of the year because you haven't been there yet, but the small increments, breaking the goal down so that it's achievable under small increments. Like if I'm going to save 100K, I'm going to save 100K a year. So first quarter, I'm going to make sure that we've reduced our we've increased 25%, or we've reduced our outcomes from this percentage to that percentage. So we've saved 25,000, right? So if we've got that goal, or we got beyond that goal, I think it's important to celebrate those wins with your team, with your company.
I would only interject here that be plugged into your company. I have a friend, and a few days before Christmas, they all got together, her company that she works for, and it wasn't like a holiday party. It was a team building thing. And I saw your eyebrows. And it just seemed like it was sort of out of place. Like, why are you doing a team building thing a few days before the holidays? And she was kind of like, we were all trying to get together, all of us as friends for dinner. And, she was like, I can't because I got to go to this thing. And it's a team building thing. And she wasn't very positive on it. And I don't think the rest of the staff was. There's a place for that. Maybe not a few days before Christmas. You're in a different mindset. You're in the, celebrating the holidays. So that would be my only thought. Be mindful of what people are thinking and what your team's expectations are, what their feelings are. Yeah,
and I think team building is not necessarily celebrating. If you're
right.
Celebrating the win, that's just celebrating. That's maybe having a happy hour together. It's being able to maybe present awards or gift certificates, whatever it may be that the company wants to kind of achieve. But I think it's important that we have those quick wins. I know another company that we all went together to see a movie. We all went to see a movie. They all wanted to go see a movie. So that's what they wanted to do for their wins. So we did. We went to see that new Top Gun movie. Okay. So I think that whatever they would like to do that's going to be specific for them, I think it's important to get their intake on that and their feedback. What would you like to do? And timing is important. Christmas may not be the best time for a team building.
Just saying, unless you want to do it in the Caribbean and you're paying for everything, that's a little different.
That's a little different. Yeah, that's right.
I'd be on board for that team building exercise. How do we find you, Angela? Let's say somebody's looking to really step up their goals, the process, all of that in 2025. How do they find you?
Oh, I am located at Inoatar, INOATAR.com. And that's where you can find me. Of course, I'm always on LinkedIn as well. But thank you for having me. It's a great conversation today.
Oh, same. Great to have you here and so timely. And just want to add, you're also an international best-selling author of a new book called The Dark Side of Agile Coaching. So check that out on your website as well. And thanks for being here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's
it's going to be okay.